This is Independent Librarian Dynamic, Sean Kennedy VI, doing a pirate broadcast of episode number 732.653.663.398.36.15. This is a broadcast in Queen's English from sometime after now. I'm broadcasting from the future so that the past doesn't necessarily have to come to be. I'm broadcasting so that you have a chance to stop what's coming. But by listening to my broadcast, you should be aware that you're violating your listener's license, and you may be violating your creativity permits. And in so doing so, could be subject to termination or enforced recycling. I thought of something the other day too. The fact that you listen to this may affect you in the future because, it could be considered to be terrorist activity in the past, records, what you've heard or what you've read. Who's to say that people who know that you've listened to this won't declare you a risk, just like people who've read certain books could be considered a risk. That's if you find some books. But to those of you in the past, the only advice I could give you is to make sure that you may want to listen to this in private so that you don't wind up getting a whole bunch of people charged, and don't let other people know. But in your own way, you can fight it. You can fight what's coming just by circulating things, circulating information. Make people know, and with knowledge will come strength. If you're the kind of person who would turn this broadcast off, you need it more than anyone. If this should shock you or disturb you, you should listen because you need it most. And so by server's grace, light your candles, and server will protect us. I'm not really one to be talking about protection. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I've quite probably gone mad. Since I was a New Roman, since Mr. Weaver put these components in my head, I didn't really know what to expect. When I left New Rome, there was that humming, that buzzing sound which was coming from inside my mind, but that was nothing compared to what was going to be coming. I ran for days. I didn't even stop during the daytime, which wasn't that great. The heat was unbearable, but thanks to the coat, it kept me going. I had to put distance between me and New Rome. I didn't know what would happen. I mean, Weaver, being a Dreadman, I don't know if he might change his mind. Maybe I ran to get away. I ran to put distance between me and what I'd become. Maybe I was trying to run away from myself. I don't really know, but I ran, I'll tell you that. My recon helmet picked up a wreckage out in the... we moved further and further away from New Rome, and the wastelands got more and more desert. You got to understand that out here, sometimes I take things for granted. I think you know what I'm talking about, but after the ozone layer got burned off, most of America, what was America, became like a desert at the best of times. There's not a lot of trees. Most of the trees are gone, and they've been stripped away for lumber and resources and that. So the trees that do exist, there are forests. They do still exist, but I mean, they're usually located around any bodies of water that are still moving and the animals that are there. So I've heard take shelter in the shade and the thick canopy. We still have animals. They're just not nearly as plentiful. About 90% of them have died off. That doesn't count insects and other creatures that are able to exist at night, but once you take out one part of the equation, the food chain falls apart pretty fast. So the deserts out here are like, I'm trying to find something you can imagine. You ever see like a beach where they've got like dead grass and scrub? That's kind of what most of America is like. Sometimes it's just sand with ripples on it, shaped by the wind that goes on for miles and miles. I mean, it's amazing to see in a terribly beautiful way when the sun comes up over across America and there's these desert dunes and the sky turns violent shades of orange and purple and violet and blue and green. Like they say, nature never knew colors like that. It took us with all of our pollution and various amounts of toxins. God only knows how much industry is still putting up into the sky. There's a movement a few years back where they were talking about how the pollution being put in the atmosphere was actually going to take the place of the ozone layer. Trying to make people feel better about, since we lost the ozone layer, we'll create a shield ourselves with pollution, because that'll act as an ozone layer. It's not man-made, or it's not natural, it's man-made, but it's the next best thing. Shield yourself with chemical waste. Unbelievable. But it comes to be. People used to think that their bodies were temples, when in actuality it's the planet that was the temple. That's where we all live, and nobody paid any attention. So never mind anything else that I tell you. Never mind any other information that I happen to pass on to you. You might want to, think about recycling other than, body parts. Apparently in the past, people had the choice of whether or not to put, cans or bottles inside of recycling containers now. I mean, now people recycle their parents. They gut rip roadkill. I mean, anything that can be recycled for the act of profit, it'll be done. That's all on the fringes, though, and I'm a long way from the fringes right now. Where was I? Oh, yeah. I've been running for quite some time. I think it was about 3 days. Helmet tells me 3 days. And I saw some wreckage. Showed up. Had a metal bounce back from the in-helmet sonar. So I veered path and tore over to it. It was coming up on morning on the, I guess it would have been the 4th day. So it had been 3 days and 3 nights. The helmet came up, and I've been able to put some good speed. You can get some good distance if you run non-stop like that, and plus with these reconnaissance legs, this is the first real time I put a test on them. They're quite the equipment.